Wow, it's exciting use
It
of tech.
is. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shay Ali with Inspired Online. And today, my special guest is the lovely Rich Waterman. Now, if you haven't had the honor of meeting Rich yet, he's named Rich for a reason, because he can help you to get rich. So he's had plenty of experience in doing this. He worked in the wild world of banking, but don't worry, he's a really, really lovely guy. And he's gone from that. No offense to bankers, by the way, I have lots of them that are good friends, including this one. So he went from that to being a really incredible coach. So he coaches people with coaching businesses on how to make more money, how to work with people generally who want to make more money. And he's we met through Tony Robbins' world, which a lot of you know that I'm part of as well. And so he is only one of two senior trainers here in the UK. So if you want some kick-ass coaching or training, this is the man to go to, especially around the world of money. And we all need a bit more of that right now. So welcome to Inspired Online. And I'm going to ask you the same question, or a similar question to what I ask on stage. And I know you've been on our stage before, but if you had to share your wisdom with the world in a nutshell, what would you say?
Oh, I love introductions like that, because I'm like thinking, oh yeah, that's quite cool. Anyways, everything in your life works from a place of contribution. That's where I would sum that up in a nutshell. And there's a reason for that. Is because, as you said, even though people approach me often to create more financial richness, there's usually something underlying that which is the emotional richness and the richness of their relationship with time. And what I've found is that the more people come from a place of contribution, you and I obviously know about the 6 human needs, and maybe we'll talk about that in a moment, but I find that every one of my human needs gets met when I start in contribution. So my original tagline for my business, I still use it in my personal development business, which is to help people get rich, financially rich, emotionally rich, and time rich. Yeah. When I'm working one-to-one with clients now, it's actually more about helping leaders create impact and legacy through authentic contribution.
Gosh, there's so much to unpick in just that opening that opening minute. So let's start with this. What is being rich?
So that's a great question, isn't it? And it was a name that I chose for myself when I was a teenager, because like my parents have always called me Richard, and they still do. In fact, even like my partner and her family, even though I introduced myself as Rich, they still call me Richard, which I like, because like it's King Richard and stuff, isn't it? Sure. Fundamentally, Shay, I think that being rich is, and it comes from it's a Tony Robbins saying that it's kind of the core of his program called Date with Destiny, which is when your life conditions, so what is going on in your life, matches your blueprint, which is what you think should be going on in your life. When those two match, what is going on and what you think should be going on, that's an interesting question in itself. Generally, we feel happy and fulfilled, and I think that's probably fundamentally what I would call feeling rich, is that fulfillment that is full of emotions. I don't tend to use words positive and negative emotions anymore, and maybe that's a discussion in itself. But feeling full, for me, is a definition of Richard. Obviously, because my surname is Waterman, it's like having a full glass, right? So that one's not quite there yet. But, other stuff.
Half full though.
It is halfway. It's halfway there, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when we feel complete, I think that's richness. And a lot of the work that I do with my clients is to experience that on a regular basis. Obviously, we're human beings, right? So, the glass goes up and down. But actually, when you feel fundamentally, I understand why I'm here on this planet. What is my role? Why was I put here? Why do I have these gifts? Because I'm using the gifts, and therefore I feel complete and full.
That's beautiful. Now, I know a lot of people watching this haven't been to Tony, and maybe don't want to, or whatever. Yeah. But I'd like to talk a bit more about how can you make your glass full. I mean, it's some people are going to be sitting at home, and I mean, we all have those days. I have those days where you think I'm not used to this, and this isn't what I imagined. And
Mm.
how in those moments can you be like filling your glass so you can give
Yeah.
other people that overflow?
Yeah. I love the idea of giving people overflow, by the way. I'm actually going to start and related, and I'll explain why we're going that way. So a lot of people tend to focus on what's not in the glass. So it could be air. It could also be oil. I often use oil as a metaphor for like the stuff that we don't want, and a lot of people try and get it out and get rid of it. Whereas actually, I think the easy way to do it is just to add more good stuff in. So that will displace, whether it's air, whether it's oil, whatever it may be. The easiest way to get rid of negative stuff in life is actually add so much more good stuff that you're not even aware of the fact you've got other stuff going on. I think adding stuff to your glass is, if we're looking at on a fundamental level, let's look at some Tony content, which is the 6 human needs. So Tony talks about, and it's kind of derived a little bit from, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like just having the essentials in place, and then what else do we need, and self-actualization starts coming near the top. Tony talks about 4 basic human needs, which is the need for certainty, structure, solidity, foundation, that type of nest of emotions. And right now, obviously, our reality is being disrupted massively. I think because we're a couple of weeks in now, people are adjusting to a more altered reality. And so one of the ways to add stuff into your glass is to create structure, create new routine, create some more solidity, some more certainty, because it will calm the brain down. Because the brain's going, if I don't know what's going on, I'm just going to basically focus on the fact that I don't know what's going on. So adding that in, I think it's important. Well, I think something that's really going to be important going forward, which is the second human need, which is the need for variety, because we have less choice in terms of what we can do. That being said, we still actually have a lot of choice things we can do, because we've got the internet and things like that, which, if this had happened a few decades ago, would have been very interesting to interact just with newspapers, or maybe TV, or even a long time ago, newspapers. So certainty and variety, 2 things that you can put in the glass. Love and connection. Now, again, that's another interesting one, which is also, we've got loved ones around us, those who are living in family units, great. Other people, it's like, how do I connect with people that I care about? And that, we've got phones, we've got computers, we've got all sorts of other things. So that's important. Like, just because we're physically distant from other people, how can we add more love and connection in? How can we just reach out to people and just tell them we love them and we care? The next one is significance. Significance gets a lot of bad rap, but it's basically feeling unique, and it's feeling you're of value, feeling you're important, and doing stuff that's useful for others, whether it is, calling up a relative, checking in they're okay, doing some shopping for someone, letting people know that you discovered a great new, we discovered a farm shop locally that are brilliant at sending meat and veg.
Oh, lucky you.
we can't get online slots, right? It's just, you can't get slots for the supermarkets. And
I've got one.
Yeah. Yes.
It's in 7 days. I've waited.
You're like, come on. So sharing useful stuff with people, showing your elder relatives how to use technology so you can stay in contact with each other. Being useful, I think, might be being of value, I think, might be a more useful word than significance. And then Tony talks about 2 other human needs that are what are called the juicy needs. We won't always meet them, but I think right now they're really important, which is growth. So actually just get your teeth into something. Just have a new project, learn an instrument, learn a new language, create a new project, whatever that may be. And then the final one's contribution, which I've kind of alluded to in the other ones, funnily enough, because I think it leads everything else. Contribution, just helping others, being of use to others, using your skills and talents and your energy and your presence to be of use to others, because they can then start to work backwards. You can really fill your glass through contribution, because being of use to others, being of value to others, that makes you feel significant as well as helping others. It encourages you to grow, because you have to find new ways of doing it. You get massive love and connection because you're helping another human being, so they're incredibly grateful and you feel bonded with them. Huge amount of variety, because you never know quite how that contribution might show up. And actually, what I found is the need to create some structures and processes around to be more effective with my contribution then gives me the certainty as well. So that's why I think leading with contribution is powerful. And that's ways of filling the glass. There's other emotions as well. Think about what other emotions do you want to feel on a regular basis? Like fun's a big one for me. So like I love, all right, some of the humor's a bit dark, but I love all the jokes and things that are going around. That's how we deal with it, right? How we deal with something serious is to have fun as well. What other emotions are important to you? Just think about what you can do right now that can put that in your glass as well. I think that is just filling up your emotional needs is probably the thing that I would focus on. Long answer to your question. I tend to do that, as you know.
I was going to actually ask you to break down the 6 human needs. Again, not everyone's heard that, so I think that was beautifully described. Another thing is, and Tony Robbins talks about this too, is a lot of people, they do not lead with contribution as their number one. In fact, that's quite rare. And I think in this society, but probably in most of the Western world, what we lead with, most people, is significance and certainty. So that, here that feeling of being secure in most people is being really knocked right now for some. So what would you say to someone who's spent their whole life leading from that place of, maybe primary certainty, because that's the one that's really been knocked, and to some extent significance as well, because they may not be doing what they're doing in the world right now.
Good shout. I think that's a great question. So I think the thing with certainty is you need enough to be effective. And what's easy to fall into the trap of is becoming a sort of certainty junkie, which is like, do you know what, there are things I've always done, and so I'm just going to stack more and more and more of those as I get older. And I have certain strict rules around that certainty. And that's where you can get unstuck, which is I can only feel certainty if I do these set things. And therefore I need lots of rules to make sure that I meet that initial certainty. And I think with someone that's in that position, first of all, welcome to the club. Because I was definitely in that place, and a lot of people are. So first of all, don't judge yourself for having gone there. It's just like the human brain is constantly it's wired to look for what stuff I can do over and over again, so I can have replicable outcomes. Right? It's just when we start to stack it and don't question it, it's like we need to kind of clean the house up a little bit, really. So I would say to that someone that's in that position is actually just take a step back and go, what do I really need? What is it that I actually really need? And actually what you really need, what I'm learning here in the current environment is I need somewhere to sleep and live. Ideally, some people don't even have that. I need food, I need drink, and probably I need some sort of human connection, realistically, because otherwise you can go a little bit looby-loo. And what I would encourage them in, and this is a concept that I learned from actually 2 people, and I'm not sure who came up with it first or whether it was independent, but both Steve Linder, who's a trainer for Robbins, and also Keith Cunningham, who teaches at a lot of Robbins events, is what I call multiple paths to success. So this is a concept which is you can get at that certainty lots of different ways. Like the certainty, just kind of first of all cut down the certainty you think you need. Chuck away the rules and go, right, I just need to get these things. And what are the ways that I could do that? A lot of business owners happen to think about that right now. Is like, what do my customers actually need? How could I deliver that? What are the different ways that I could do that? Again, you're creating certainty for your customer around their needs. So that's another angle. The significance piece is interesting because I know, and I think it's natural as a teenager, for example, teenagers, we're moving from, if we had a decent family unit, our parents are amazing, I worship them, to teenager, I want to form my own personality, my own thing. So often that means rebelling against that first structure, not always. So we will go looking for significance, and sometimes we'll end up grouping with others because it gives us significance over someone else. And I think here's the challenge. If you go looking for significance or uniqueness, go looking to grab it, to take it from people, to for your sole reason for your activity is to gain that significance, that is your primary objective, you're never going to win that game. You're always going to be wanting more. There's always going to be someone with more followers than you on Instagram or YouTube channel, whatever it is. And it is one of the great things about the modern era is this ability for everyone to communicate and communicate their stuff out in the world. I think with a lot of people, the problem is they're chasing the notoriety, the fame, the followers, and you're never going to win that game. If you go, I love doing this stuff, let me share it with the world, and all the stuff that comes with it is a happy byproduct, you're going to win. But people that are chasing significance is like, you know, you're always trying to outcompete, you know, the neighbours, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, the person with 10 more followers than you, 1,000, a million more followers. And you're going to get distracted by the outcome rather than the process. So you forget about the journey you're on rather than. So what I love about what's going on right now, Shay, is like people have been brought right back to the journey because like you've got to focus on today.
Yeah.
And there's a gift in that,
Yeah.
I think.
So I want to go back to a concept that you talked about at the beginning, and this is quite a big question for the time we have available, but I'm going to ask it. You talked.
I'll try and be quick.
You talked about you know, people get not fulfilled when their life conditions don't match the blueprint they have for their life. So, you know, let's unpick that a little bit. What is life conditions and blueprint, and how can we make them match? Yeah,
that's a great question. Right, let me be succinct. Life conditions, that is what is going on. So like, who's your partner, if you've got one? What job are you doing, or what business do you have? What mission are you on? What's your health like your aerobic capacity, your muscle mass, your weight, all these sort of things. The environment you're living in, the environment you work in, which might be the same right now. So that's just stuff, external stuff that obviously impacts your emotional state. So there's all this stuff going on, and traditionally most people would look at stuff and go, I want to make more money in my business, or I want to lose a few pounds or kilos, or I'd like to be in a relationship with this sort of amazing person. And so that's where traditional goal setting comes in, which is, okay, let me set a target for what I want in these life conditions and let me start to work towards it. Great concept, because in many ways, you know, what your life conditions is probably some ways the easiest thing to change, because it's like, yeah, something's not quite right here. Let me work on it. And whether you use kind of SMART goals approach, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound is one definition of SMART goals. If you use some Tony Robbins stuff, which is RPM, which is what's the result I want, what's the purpose, what's the reason I'm doing it, what are my massive immediate actions to achieve it, those different ways you can set goals. What you need to remember is to be very clear on the fundamental why behind your setting that goal, why you're changing that life condition. So why am I changing these external things? Well, I think the reason why you should be doing it is so that it more aligns with fundamentally who you are as a person, which is the blueprint piece. And what's important is we're all different. So you might look at someone that's got a multimillionaire and earning loads of money each year, and you look at it and go, I'd like to have that too. Yeah. So I could set some goals around earning a lot more money. And you might even want to copy that person because you know what, they've done it before. So let's model this person now. That might be smart. It's not smart if their values, their blueprint is completely different for yours. In other words, they don't value family. They value making money over everything else. And you're a family orientated person. You will always sabotage that goal, that change in life conditions, because it doesn't align with who you are as a person. So I think you need to consider both, which is what is going on in my life right now, the life conditions. What is my blueprint? In other words, what are the emotions that I really, really want and feel? And often we won't always be thinking about emotions. We might be thinking about things that represent those emotions. So, for example, my relationship with my family is massively important. Why? Because it probably gives me a lot of love and connection. It probably actually also gives me a lot of significance as well, because I feel valuable in that scenario. So it's looking at what is important to you. And then the first step would be, right, these things are really important to me. And they might be different from you, Shay, might be different. I think spec ours are probably quite similar because we just naturally got on first time we met, right? So probably an indication that we have similar blueprints, like how we see the world. We can then goal set and move stuff around the life conditions to try and match this blueprint a little bit better. And it's always dynamic, right? Most people, when it's out of whack, will shift to blame. So they'll try and solve it with blame. That doesn't work because it just shifts the pain somewhere else. Yeah. There's a more fundamental question, which is there stuff in my blueprint that isn't helpful? And that can change as well. You can just choose, like, okay, let me just choose to make things that are important to me in a slightly different order and find ways to condition that to express it more on a more regular basis so that I can actually move. Like, for example, I think success, money and things like that were more important to me in my 20s. Now, contribution and growth are more important to me, maybe because I've got the certainty of the money side. Yeah. So that's kind of my fundamental thing, is like, you can, the life conditions thing is the easiest thing to change to match, but also don't forget that you might have picked up some interesting emotional blueprints over your life that just need to be looked at and go, does this actually serve me right now? Or am I, and maybe I'm not even aware of the fact that my blueprint has changed and I've been trying to match an old blueprint and actually I'm in a different place. So I think that's kind of a shorter piece on that as I could explain, but it's that's the game I play with all my clients, that piece that can I match the two.
Yeah. And are there any little things that we can do right now to start shifting that?
Yeah, so I think the key is have a menu, have your buffet of emotions clearly laid out before you. So actually write down what are the favorite emotions you need to feel. Now, Robbins stuff, we order them and all sorts of stuff, but I don't think you need to go that much detail. Like, what are the key emotions that I want to feel in a week? And then write down a list of stuff that you can do right now, given the current environment, that can start to fill up. It's almost like having a series of glasses. Then you've got a whole series of glasses, like which ones are important, and actually maybe even consider which ones have I made important in the past that maybe I just need to stop filling because they're just not relevant to me anymore. And maybe there's some new glasses you need to bring in, start filling those up. And play the game with those around you as well, because peer group's massive. Just say, look, what's important to you in life? You know, what is important? Okay, how do you, what's important to your life? Family. Okay, what do you do on a daily or weekly basis to meet your need to recognize the importance of family? And they go, I don't know. What would you want to do? Do you want to ring your family once a week, once a day? Do you want to do Zoom calls together? Do you want to play virtual games? Do you want to send them letters? What would you like to do? So have a menu within each emotion as well. That would be the simplest thing I think to do. And just be aware of the stuff that you're also, the other glasses that are sitting around that you're accidentally filling with stuff that might not be quite so productive. And just be aware of that. Just catch yourself filling. And it could be listening to external news, or maybe you've got some people in your peer group that are a bit more negative. Just be aware of what glasses you're accidentally filling and see if you can just guide yourself somewhere else.
Beautiful, thank you. The time has just flown by with content, and I don't want to take up too much extra of your time. But
you're welcome.
Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Yeah, I think I'm going to loop back, Shay, to the fundamental piece, which is I think people are happy and fulfilled when they feel they're valuable in the world. It's very hard to feel valuable in the world when all that attention is directed at yourself. Like, you need a classic thing. You do need to put your oxygen mask on first. Look after self so you can serve others. Every single person listening to this video has unbelievable skills and talents. And all I would ask you to do is find ways to interface that with the world. If you can live from that place where all I'm doing is sharing my skills and talents with the world, not only will the world benefit from that, but you'll feel a gazillion times better yourself, because you will understand part of your purpose on this planet. So that was a thought I'd leave people with, is like, you don't need to look internally because from fear of scarcity or losing out on something. If you come from a place of sharing what you have with the world, everything works out. It's like, I haven't found one person where that's not true. And, you know, if someone feels that for someone doesn't feel real for them, reach out to me or Shay, and I'd love to have a conversation, because honestly, I've never found someone where that doesn't work. As a challenge.
Yeah, I love it. If you're really feeling low, get rich.
You can get me or you can talk to me, whichever you want to do. I don't mind.
Absolutely. So how do we get in touch?
The easiest way is either for those connect me on Facebook, just drop me a message on there, or if not, I have super complicated email, which is richwaterman@richwaterman.com.
Lovely. It's super, super easy. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a joy to have you. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed this video. I'm sure they have. And I will see you again after lockdown, I'm sure. And take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Shay. Really, thank you so much for inviting me on here, and thank you for your time. And yeah, looking forward to catching up with you properly as soon as possible.
Absolutely.